I'm on a mission to reach my first 1,000 subscribers, and I need your support. If you love movies, reviews, and great stories, hit that subscribe button and join me on this journey. Thank you. The story begins with an elderly assassin preparing to retire after many years in the profession. He is about to enjoy the luxurious life he has always dreamed of, thanks to a substantial retirement fund he will soon receive. However, a group of younger assassins silently surrounds him from a distance. A sniper fires a bullet directly at the aging assassin, and simultaneously, other assassins rush in to shoot him down as he attempts to fight back. In his final moments, the old assassin realizes that the leader of the young assassins is someone from the same organization as him. Coldly, she remarks, "It's over for you, old man," and finishes him off with a single shot. Afterward, she and her accomplices board a waiting helicopter and leave the scene. Our main character is Duncan, a top-tier assassin who works for the same company as the slain elder assassin. Throughout his decades-long career, Duncan has carried out numerous assassination missions, large and small, without ever failing. He has earned the nickname H-Saw due to his impressive reputation. To achieve this fame, Duncan has sacrificed his body, which is now riddled with injuries and chronic wounds that can never fully heal. He is also weary of this life. Fortunately, according to his contract, Duncan has only 14 days left before he officially retires. His accountant estimates that he will receive a retirement sum of $8.2 million from the assassin organization. Despite possessing a vast fortune accumulated from his career as a killer, Dunk has missed out on love and family, and he has no interests other than killing. Each year, Dunk asks his accountant to transfer $200,000 from the same bank to a charity to support an orphan. Perhaps this is his way of seeking some comfort for himself after taking the lives of many. On that day, V, the close assistant to the company owner, came to find Dunk and informed him that recently, several assassins from the company had been killed. The assassin who was killed at the beginning of the film was the fourth victim. The investigation revealed that all the killings were orchestrated by a Mexican assassin, with a Russian assassin pulling the strings for revenge. Now, the boss has approved a revenge plan offering a $1 million reward for anyone who kills the Mexican assassin. However, Dunk does not want to encounter any more trouble before retiring. Moreover, he doesn't need any more with the money he currently has, so he outright declined this mission. Instead of going to one of the 4 houses registered with the accountant, Dunk headed to a remote town. He planned to live a peaceful life there. He also bought a small dog on his way, thinking he should find something to do after retirement. He purchased a guidebook on how to raise dogs, but it seems the puppy encountered bad luck when meeting Dunk. That night, Dunk fell asleep on the sofa while the puppy kept licking him. He had a nightmare and woke up suddenly, hearing a noise. He instinctively pulled out his gun and shot the poor dog, which died instantly, a cruel twist of fate for the dog that licked at him. The next day, Duncan buried the dog and burned the dog training book. He noticed his neighbor CA trying to chop wood across the river. Watching her struggles made everyone feel anxious. Taking advantage of CA being outside, Duncan easily chopped up all the wood. When CA returned and saw the neatly stacked pile of wood, she was very surprised. Duncan smiled at her expression, feeling like he had played a little prank while also being glad that he could still be helpful to someone else. That evening, Duncan received 15 encrypted messages from Vi, although he wanted to ignore them. They had been partners for so long. As expected, it was about handling that Mexican assassin. To ensure everything went smoothly, the boss specifically named Duncan and raised the fee to $2 million, $1 million as a deposit and $1 million upon completion of the task. With the stakes this high, Duncan found it hard to refuse outright. He simply told Vi to send him the target's profile for review before making a decision. According to the information in the file, the Mexican assassin was a hefty guy currently in Belarus. Duncan decided to meet with this fat man first without informing Vi. The boss of the assassin company is a heavy-set man with a sickly yellow complexion, known as Blood. From now on, let's refer to him as the fat yellow guy for simplicity. It turns out that the mission Duncan was assigned by Vi is actually a trap, aimed at getting him killed while attempting to complete the task in order to seize his massive retirement funds. As Vi previously mentioned, the retiring assassins have already been murdered, all orchestrated by this fat yellow guy. This assassin company was established by the fat yellow guy's father, and after his father's death, he lost all capability to run it effectively, leading to a decline in business. He wants to sell the company but is burdened with nearly $30 million in debt. To boost its value, the fat yellow guy devised a plan to kill the retiring assassins and steal their pension funds. According to the employment contract, if an assassin dies during a mission or due to an unspecified accident, the entire pension will go to the company unless they had previously designated a direct heir, which these assassins do not have. Meanwhile, Duncan has arrived in Belarus, where he seeks out a local escort to help him bring the target's son to rent a hotel room right next to the target's room. After that, he informs the receptionist that his room's lock is broken, and Duncan pretends to be a locksmith, deliberately causing a disturbance. Attracted the target's attention in the room next to the chubby guy who was happily being disturbed, he angrily rushed out to find Duncan to calculate the results. And it goes without saying that he bumped into a nail that Duncan had shot straight into the wall. Then Duncan calmly took down the chubby guy's followers, but when he burst into the room to check if there were any remaining guys, he suddenly discovered his own file neatly placed on the table. Duncan immediately realized he had been set up. He asked the chubby guy, but he only knew someone had hired a hit on Duncan, not who was behind it. Unable to extract any information, Duncan decided to eliminate the chubby guy, took a photo of him, and called Vi on, telling her that he agreed to take on the assassination job for the chubby guy, asking her to transfer $1 million as a deposit immediately. Hearing this, she didn't dare to delay and quickly made the transfer. But what she didn't expect was that as soon as Duncan received the money, he sent her a photo of the chubby guy while also calling to inform her that the job was completed, asking her to pay the remaining amount within a day. Vi felt a bit stunned. But Duncan's next words made her even more frightened. Duncan bluntly stated that someone wanted to harm her in this deal and warned her that it's best not to get involved in this matter, or she would know what the consequences were. She panicked and immediately approached the chubby guy, warning him that he needed to pay Duncan right away. Otherwise, both of them would living in constant fear at any moment could be blown away by Duncan's actions. The overweight man admitted he had underestimated Duncan, agreed to pay up front to calm him down. But he was determined to get that money back and would send HD's young assassins to take care of Duncan. Meanwhile, Duncan returned to the small town to continue his peaceful life because the town was small. Duncan and CA often crossed paths. At first, CA felt a bit tense when meeting Duncan, but she eventually realized that he was the one who helped her chop firewood. The two often ran into each other and gradually became close friends. They shared meals, talked, and confided in each other about their lives and dreams for the future. It seemed that Duncan had developed feelings for CA, prompting him to buy her a gift, which turned out to be a handgun, quite an outrageous gift from him. After that, as Duncan taught CA how to use the gun, she suddenly trembled, seemingly recalling something horrifying. CA lacked the courage to pull the trigger, ultimately throwing the gun to the ground and bursting into tears. It turned out that at 13, CA had worked as an assistant to Santa Claus at the library, and one night, the man dressed as Santa was drunk and abusive. Since then, CA had always longed for a gun to confront that man, force him to acknowledge his crimes, and then pull the trigger to end it all. After hearing her story, Duncan felt a surge of anger, imagining the scene where he found that guy and used a hammer on him. They tortured him to death to reclaim their justice. In a different situation, the team led by HD began to act and tracked down Duncan's accountant, forcing him to reveal the addresses of 4 houses owned by Duncan. Since Duncan was naturally cautious, they couldn't extract any further useful information from him. After that, they visited each address one by one but were met with disappointment. None of the 4 houses had any sign of Duncan. One house was rented out, while another was occupied by thugs who noticed it was vacant, leaving them with no clues. They then started to rummage through everything Duncan had left behind. Eventually, they discovered a few leads, including documents related to a $200,000 transfer to some charitable organization. This money was sent from a bank in a remote town. HD immediately took his associates to that town. After a long journey, they finally located the bank mentioned in the report and began taking turns monitoring the area. At this point, Duncan was completely unaware of what was happening. After a failed gun handoff, he returned to the town to pick out gifts. But the location was so small that his subordinates quickly spotted Duncan and informed HLD. While Duncan was on his way home, a woman from the group named Soyamo pretended her car broke down. Duncan, without any suspicion, stopped to help her. But when he looked in his rearview mirror, he saw her deliberately unzip her jacket to expose a weapon, making him instantly alert. Soyamo spoke up, with the assumption that her car had broken down. She couldn't reach her friends because her phone was dead. It hinted that she wanted to go to Duncan's house to seek refuge from the impending snowstorm. Duncan, though suspicious, was interested in discovering who was trying to harm him. Soon enough, Soyamo arrived at Duncan's home after charging her phone. She pretended to call her friends for help but was told they couldn't come due to the heavy snow and would have to wait until the next day. Consequently, Soyamo stayed at Duncan's house without hesitation. As she prepared for bed, she began to provoke Duncan with her words. Naturally, Duncan indulged her, leading to an adult-only martial arts display that we won't describe in detail. At this point, Hai and his crew surrounded the house, with a sniper attacking from a distance while Hild and the others approached from both sides. When the sniper aimed at Duncan, his gaze didn't show any emotion. As if he was waiting for something, the bullet was fired, hitting Soyamo instead. Duncan seized the opportunity to dodge and retaliate against Hai and his gang. He used an axe to eliminate Soyamo, who had revealed his location, before disappearing without a trace. Hai and his gang rushed into the house but found Duncan missing. Soyamo ordered the sniper to quickly locate Duncan, not realizing that in an instant, Duncan had stealthily approached the sniper from behind and took him down. He then seized the sniper rifle and shot it to pieces. All the light sources in the house were turned on afterwards. Then, the infrared night vision mode was activated by HD. Feeling the situation was dire, he quickly threw a smoke bomb to conceal his whereabouts. At the same time, he ordered another man to go around and attack Duncan. But this person was merely cannon fodder and was taken down by Duncan as soon as he appeared. At that moment, Hild had to hide behind the refrigerator to avoid detection, as her flare was about to go out. However, due to his extensive experience, Duncan managed to find HD because of her breath. Duncan pinpointed Hild's location and eliminated her with 2 shots. The 2 unexpected assassination attempts aimed at him, along with information he gathered through his earpiece while confronting Hild, made Duncan almost certain that the company had sent assassins to kill him. He proceeded to search one of the assassins and found a key to a hotel room, then drove there. Upon arrival, he discovered one team member incapacitated from drug use. From her, Duncan learned that another member had gone to kidnap CA to threaten him. Indeed, when Duncan rushed to CA's house, he found everything ransacked and CA abducted by the overweight man. Upon hearing that Hild's team had failed and that her girlfriend had also been killed, he became extremely furious and vowed to kill Duncan at all costs. At the same time, Duncan reached out to an old retired friend, where he learned the truth about the overweight man's embezzlement of the assassin's retirement funds. Duncan finally realized why the company wanted to eliminate his old friend. He speculated that he might have been taken to the headquarters of the top priority company. At that moment, Duncan's main goal was to rescue his friend. However, when he parted ways with his old friend, Duncan was knocked out with anesthesia. When he woke up, he found himself tied up in the company's torture room. The fat man blamed Duncan for everything, from Heat's death to all the losses he suffered, believing he had the right to kill others while no one else was allowed to resist. With only 4 days left before he could kill Duncan, The fat man was determined to torture him to death to satisfy his rage. He even showed Duncan pictures of his friend being brutally mistreated. For the next 3 days, the fat man subjected Duncan to various forms of torment. These methods were not immediately lethal, but were extremely cruel, leaving Duncan injured all over his body. By the 3rd day, when the fat man stabbed Duncan with a razor blade, the blade broke off inside his flesh, causing the fat man to become so enraged that he blinded Duncan in one eye. From then on, Duncan was a haunting reminder for many who had permanently lost an eye. After the fat man left, Duncan grit his teeth and removed the blade from his body, unlocking his chains. On the 4th day, when the door to the torture room opened, Duncan suddenly sprang up and swiftly took down several guards. Hearing the commotion inside, the fat man was outside, in a panic. There was also the issue of a fire causing chaos. The electrical system failure plunged the entire area into darkness, increasing his fear. He was more terrified than ever as the overweight man ordered the guards to kill him while he fled. The outcome was predictable. None of the guards could withstand him. As he dashed out, he encountered another group of guards in the narrow corridor. However, just like before, none could match his strength. He moved swiftly, taking down each guard one by one. Yet, due to his injuries and the disadvantageous terrain, along with being outnumbered, he was hit by several bullets, fortunately not in critical areas. Soon enough, the long corridor was filled with corpses. He managed to escape despite his serious wounds and sought out his trusted friend, a weapons dealer named Jasmine. Knowing his escape might put her in danger, he immediately called her using her phone, stating he would trade his life for hers before passing out. The following day, Duncan woke up to find Jasmine had bandaged his wounds. Though he still felt pain throughout his body, he didn't have time to rest. Following his request, Jasmine provided him with a large supply of heavy weaponry and advanced wireless laser sighting equipment. Afterward, he drove away. On the road, he called Vi to confirm he was still alive and then hung up. This call was tracked, but only the central area was identified. Nevertheless, the overweight man remained undeterred. He ordered all his elite subordinates to mobilize and start searching the designated area. Meanwhile, Dunk drove to an abandoned factory to set up all the heavy weapons he brought along. Once finished, he called Vi to schedule the time and place for their deal. Vi tried to prolong the call to pinpoint Dunk's exact location. Eventually, she discovered he was close to her convoy. Less than a minute later, Vi and her crew surrounded Dunk. The chubby man monitored through a camera attached to one of his underlings. However, they were unaware that Dunk had intentionally lured them there to eliminate them completely. Out of some remaining loyalty, Dunk allowed Vi a chance to survive. At this moment, both Vi and the chubby man believed Dunk had no way out. Thus, Vi overlooked the opportunity Dunk presented. But when she commanded her men to kill Dunk, an event that would make her regret it immensely occurred. Dunk utilized advanced weaponry he had just acquired and calmly eliminated each assailant, including Vi, in just over 10 seconds. The elite assassins were entirely wiped out, and the chubby man was so scared he nearly wet himself. Dunk chose not to shoot Vi again and didn't intervene in her fate. He quickly made his way to the company headquarters, and at that point, the chubby man had few followers left who could obey him. On sighting Dunk, they were terrified and abandoned him to flee. Dunk pressed forward. The fat yellow man was in his office when the protagonist casually took an axe with him. The fat yellow man was still trying to call the guy who intended to intimidate him. The person on the other end simply replied, "Dream on," and at that moment, he was completely isolated. Duncan appeared right behind him, and ultimately, the fat yellow man was decapitated by Duncan using the axe. Duncan carried the unconscious man away, and after a few days of rest, the man began to recover. One day, Duncan found a report about his charitable donations on the bed, along with some old newspapers reporting on a massacre where only a little girl survived. This incident had been a nightmare haunting Duncan for many years. He realized that the little girl was the same one from long ago. Turning around, he saw the man pointing a gun at him. It turned out that the man deliberately approached Duncan to seek revenge for his family. Years ago, Duncan received information that Salak had mistakenly killed the man's whole family by the time he discovered it. It was too late, and he could only spare the man's life when he was just a child. For years, Duncan tried to atone for his mistake by sending $200,000 each year to the man to avoid disrupting his life. Duncan had never met the man before relocating to this town, but no amount of money could bring back the man's family's lives or ease the pain he endured for so many years. Duncan understood this, and he willingly accepted death at the hands of the man as a way to free himself. The sound of gunfire resonated, yet both individuals emerged unharmed. Ultimately, she could not pull the trigger. She asked Duncan if he knew who wanted to kill her father. Duncan replied that he didn't know, but he could investigate the matter. This leads to a conclusion, though it may be due to a translation error, as it seems somewhat contradictory. Initially, it was mentioned that Duncan mistakenly killed the wrong person, but later she wanted to find out who orchestrated her father's murder for revenge. This doesn't seem very logical. I think maybe Duncan received a contract to kill her father but was misinformed. Believing her father was alone in the car during the shooting, he accidentally killed her whole family. Now, CA's desire for revenge against the person who ordered her father's assassination makes more sense. That sounds more reasonable, doesn't it? Today's story comes to an end, but the journey of exploring great movies continues. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any exciting upcoming videos. Also, leave a comment sharing your thoughts on the movie. Your support is the biggest motivation for me to create even more quality content. See you in the next video.